It's NFL Daily Preview Edition. The Bears take on the Lions this week as Chicago fights to save John Fox's job while the Lions are fighting for their playoff lives. In a game with massive AFC West implications, the Chargers visit the Chiefs. Both teams will stay in the wildcard race after this week, but the winner takes the lead in the AFC West. The Eagles are without Carson Wentz for the rest of the year, a big blow for their Super Bowl hopes. The good news is they should have little issue against a hapless Giants team. The Bengals are still technically alive in the playoff race, but they're not making it this year. Minnesota, meanwhile, can still get the #1 seed in the NFC, though they could be without tight end Kyle Rudolph this week against Mike Zimmer's old team. Houston is down to TJ Yates, a quarterback, while Jacksonville is hot after a win over the Seahawks. So yeah, this should be an easy Jaguars win. The Cardinals are still technically alive in the playoff race, but only technically. They face the Redskins in a game that has no real playoff implications. The Jets will start Bryce Petty on the road against the Saints team with extra time to prepare, coming off a narrow loss. So yeah, this should be an easy New Orleans victory. The Dolphins are fresh off an upset of the Patriots, but can they keep it going against a Buffalo Bills team that gets Tyrod Taylor back at QB? Aaron Rodgers is back. The Packers need to win out to make the playoffs, but is his return going to be enough? They get a Panthers team that's playing great and just beat the Vikings. The Ravens' schedule sets up well for them to make the playoffs, but they have to start winning. That starts with the game against the still winless Cleveland Browns. Rams versus Seahawks, another great game this week. Winner takes lead in the NFC West. It carries more weight for Seattle because if they lose this one, they might miss out on the playoffs altogether. Here's your game of the week. Patriots versus the Steelers. Winner takes control of the AFC's top seed. Although both are in good shape to get a bye, this is must-watch football. The Titans are reeling, but can they get back on track and in prime playoff position with a win over the Jimmy Garoppolo-led 49ers, who've now won 2 straight? Hyped as a Super Bowl potential preview before the season, Cowboys versus Raiders now a de facto elimination game on Sunday night. Loser season is basically over. Winner stays alive. Falcons in playoff position, but in a loaded NFC. That means they still need to win games that starts against the Bucs on Monday night. And finally, we got highlights of the Colts-Broncos game. That previews from all the games, coaching rumors, and a top 10 NFL mock draft coming up for you right now on NFL Daily.
Man crates. Awesome gifts for men in real wooden crates, wrapped in a cocoon of duct tape, or housed in ammo cans that are virtually indestructible. Some gifts he'll get to assemble himself. Some gifts you'll beg him to share. And some gifts are sealed inside layers of rock-solid concrete. Gifts guys love, from grilling gear to old-school video games and more. Man crates. Awesome gifts for men.
And we start with, well, a not very good Thursday night football matchup. Trevor Siemian drops back to pass. Awful throw. Could have been picked off by 2 different Colts guys. That's Kenny Moore. Falls down, gets back up, advances at a pretty good distance there. His first career interception, by the way. That leads to a Jacoby Brissett touchdown run as he tucks and runs. Colts go up 7-0. Later in the first, Trevor Siemian will roll out to his right when he feels the pressure. Taken down by Barkevius Mingo. You see he's kind of slow to get up, and he ends up with a season-ending shoulder injury. So in comes Brock Osweiler. But before that, though, Brandon McManus, insult to injury, misses the
Broncos season in one play.
Yeah, it is. 2 plays, really. But anyway, 10-0 now. Brock Osweiler tucks and runs, and the slow lumbering quarterback into the end zone for the score. 19 yards, and then Osweiler down 13-7 finds Cody Lattimore. Yes, he does exist, folks. 14-13, Denver takes the lead, and then less than 2 minutes later, Brock Osweiler does it again. Jeff Hireman, the tight end. Osweiler, threads the needle. Hireman breaking tackles, his 8th catch of the year. That one goes for 6. Broncos go for 2, and it works. Osweiler to Cody Lattimore, who was wide open. Was reviewed, it stood. 22-13. Like we said, boring game. Nothing happened in the fourth. Just a field goal. Colts go for it on 4th down, under 4 to go. They don't get it. Denver goes on to win 25-13. Osweiler looked pretty good.
He did look pretty good. He came in and looked like the Brock star.
It's the Colts.
It is
That's
the Colts.
Right there,
it's just awful. Just the most typical Thursday night football game that we have seen all season long.
Not
great at all. But do you know what is great, Tom?
What?
NFL Daily. Welcome in, folks. Harris Rubenstein, Tom Downey here. We got a great show for you guys today. Going to do a little playoff picture action. Going to go through some high-quality coaching rumors. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have one of the greatest draft projectors that the world has to offer. Tom Downey here, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. I will
toot round of applause.
I was 12th last year in the world.
There you go.
In accuracy.
We have our top 10, a new top 10 for you. So we'll go 1 through 10 with the current draft order as it stands. But a reminder that this episode is brought to you by Man Crate's boxes full of testosterone. If you know an awesome guy that needs a gift, a Man Crate gifts are carefully curated like a museum, but
actually exciting.
Actually exciting. Thank you. They got personalized barware. They got some jerky grams, project kicks. Delighted to delight any guy. Tom, I know you love their bouquet of meat. Perfect holiday gift. They come looking like a flower bouquet.
It's delicious, but instead of like flowers, which you shouldn't eat because that often ends in illness, there you could actually eat the meat and it's delicious.
And it's absolutely wonderful.
High quality meat.
Head to mancrates.com to get your man the best gift this holiday season. Tom, let's get into things here. Let's get into the AFC playoff picture. We got a huge season-altering, league-altering game coming up this weekend. The Patriots and the Steelers to basically decide the top end of the AFC. Both of them sitting at 11-2 and 10-3 respectively. Got the Jaguars at 9-4, the Chiefs at 7-6, barely by their chin straps hanging on to the AFC West. And then the Titans, the worst 8-5 football team in the history of the NFL, sitting next to the Buffalo Bills at 7-6. Tom, I gotta say, people crap on the AFC all the time. You know,
it's not that good.
It's not that good.
This year, I'm talking about this year only.
I like the teams out. Get the Titans out of here. The Titans can get out of the playoffs.
So what you're saying is that the top is better.
The top is better.
And I'm actually okay with that. I don't think the depth is very good.
The Chargers to me are worth way more than a 7-6 team. The Chargers to me have the talent of a 9-4 team. So the AFC playoff picture looking pretty good. Obviously, the Steelers and the Patriots will rock some things up this week. And let's head to the NFC now. The Eagles sitting at the top there. By the way, the asterisk, if you're wondering, is if they have already clinched their division.
So only 2 teams. And here we are entering Week 15. Of only 2 teams have done that. That means there's a lot of parity, and parity is good for business.
Parity is good for business. We've got the Eagles at 1, the Vikings at 2 at 10-3, and the Saints and the Rams at 9-4 sitting there. But the Rams with the tiebreaker, seeing as the Rams beat the Saints a couple weeks ago. The Panthers at 9-4, the Falcons at 8-5. Got a crazy wild card hunt as well. But ladies and gentlemen, there's only one team in that, well, 2 teams, I should say, maybe 3 teams in the hunt that matters, but everyone's eyes. Aaron Rodgers is back, and everyone's eyes are on the Green Bay Packers.
We'll preview that game. I'm not as optimistic as everyone else seems to be.
I'm just afraid. I'm very, very afraid of Aaron Rodgers. Like a good neighbor, Aaron Rodgers is back. All right. Let's get into some coaching rumors, Tom. What do you say? We have a fun new thing for everyone, and we're going to bring this up here. We have a brand new thing on NFL Daily, if you are familiar with our Michigan podcast hosted by the Michigan football insider, James Yoder. We have our rumor meter, and we're adapting it to NFL Daily. 0 footballs, totally false. 1 football, a small shredded tooth. 2 footballs. Tom, people are talking.
They're talking.
People are talking. 3 footballs, it's pretty likely. And 4 footballs, it's not fake news.
It's fact news.
It's fact news.
Get it? I thought it was pretty funny.
All right, let's get to number 1. Hugh Jackson is safe as the Browns head coach. 3 footballs on this one, Tom.
Yeah, so what we saw is that the owner, Jimmy Haslam, came out and said, hey, we're sticking with Hugh Jackson when they fired their GM, Sashi Brown. John Dorsey has said, yeah, we're going to stick with him. He wasn't like fully on board saying, yeah, he's back. So I am not giving this a full-on 4 footballs.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's fact news. I do see a scenario where Hugh Jackson doesn't win a game this year, and the Browns and John Dorsey go, you know what? We can't bring this guy back.
Yeah.
So they end up firing him. So I do think it's pretty likely, but I'm not giving it the full 4 footballs quite yet. I'm going with 3. It's pretty likely.
I will say this. One candidate, though, if they do fire Hugh Jackson, has to be the special teams coach of the Chiefs. Dave Taub, thank you.
Dorsey connection there.
Very connection with Dorsey being the former GM of the Chiefs. So Hugh Jackson, seat still pretty warm. You go 1-27 over 2 years. Your job is never going to be safe. All right, number 2 on our rumor meter, Vance Joseph will return to the Broncos. We have this one at also 3 footballs, Tom. And I got to say, back-to-back wins for the Broncos team. A nice win at home against the Jets last week. Now a nice win. I don't want to say a nice win. A win in general on the road.
A win is a win.
Against the Colts. A win is a win. what do they do? Is it his fault? Is it the quarterback? What are they going to do with Vance Joseph?
Let's not kid ourselves and pretend that Vance Joseph wasn't a bit of a disappointment this year. But I think in the end, Denver's regime is staying the same, led by John Elway. And I think that they want to make it work with Vance Joseph. Elway's really high on Joseph. I think winning the past 2 games is a big boost for Denver. I think that's going to help kind of steady them. It's still not full on 4 as fact news. But I think with 3 right now, they're in good shape. I think in the end, Denver wants to make it work. They've shown some promise the past 2 games. I think he gets another year, but next year he's going to enter the year on the hot seat.
Hey, I got to say, anyone who comes into the season with a quarterbacks of Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch, and then are forced to sign Brock Osweiler in the middle of the season just to save your quarterback crew, got to say, not the best. So one more time, a little review of what our rumor-o-meter means. 0 footballs equals totally false. 1 football is a small shred of truth. 2 footballs, people are talking, Tom. People are talking. 3 footballs is pretty likely. And 4 footballs, fact news, not fake news. Fact news. All right, let's jump ahead into our next rumor meter. We have Matt Rhule, a candidate for the Giants head coaching job, Tom.
Yeah, so this one comes in from Peter Schrager, host of Good Morning Football. He threw out Matt Rhule as a candidate. So I'm not going to give it a 0 footballs because it makes sense from one minuscule perspective. He coached the Giants. We know how the Giants love to keep their guys internal. And Matt Rhule would jump at the job.
I think anyone would jump ship off the Baylor's job.
With that said, this is a 1 football rumor. This is not going to come to fruition. I will be stunned if Rhule even gets an interview. He's got no business right now being an NFL head coach. He's a good college football head coach, but he's got a tough task at Baylor. Maybe if he turns around, he can get some more NFL buzz.
Can you imagine for what Giants fans would react if they hired a Baylor coach who just went 1-11 in his first year? There would be riots in the streets. I'm sad that Mike Francesa just retired yesterday, because if they did hire Matt Rhule, oh, man, he would have lambasted the Giants. That would have been awesome. All right, let's move into our next one here. Panthers defensive coordinator Steve Wilks to the Giants. 3 footballs in this one. The connection there with potential new GM David Gettleman.
There's one key addition or asterisk I'll put on this one, in that it's only if the Panthers hire Dave Gettleman as their
so it should be like
GM.
2 footballs and a half. One of them is deflated.
We don't do halves. Nice. Good joke.
Thank you.
Nice joke. We'll get to that for Patriot stuff. No, I think with this one, it's 3 footballs for me because he's going to get interviewed.
Yep.
Like he will fulfill the Rooney Rule requirement. I think he might get some other interviews as well. So it makes perfect sense for him to be the 3 footballs, but I don't think he's actually going to get hired.
I got to say this, though. If they did bring in Steve Wilks and Dave Gettleman, maybe, just maybe, the Giants would actually draft a linebacker. Maybe.
Whoa. I hope they hire Gettleman, because they have missed on linebackers and ignored the position for years. I'm all aboard them finally doing that, and what's shaping up to be a pretty solid linebacker class.
I'm as well. Steve Wilks, I think, would be a pretty solid option for them. He's a very stable defensive coordinator for a Panthers team that lost Sean McDermott. That defense has stayed just as good. We got a weigh-in coming here for the people at home, folks. Who should the Giants hire as their head coach? Tom, you know who I think.
It's Josh McDaniels.
It should be Josh McDaniels.
That's who every team should be trying to hire. I saw a comment from Alex Clear asking if the Giants can get John Gruden. That's not going to happen. I don't see John Gruden coming back. So
I don't even know if the Giants would want to hire John Gruden. The dude hasn't coached in almost a decade now.
I mean, look, I think John Gruden is always going to be like the white whale for I think NFL teams and for other various college football programs, because it's still John Gruden. He's still on ESPN. He still is connected to the game. I think if they miss out on Josh McDaniels, things get kind of dicey, and at that point, I do think Steve Wilks, who we just discussed, does become a legitimate candidate for the New York Football Giants as a head coach.
All right, we'll move on here to our next rumor meter. Jim Caldwell's extension doesn't provide job security. 4 footballs. It's a fact news.
This is fact news, folks, because Caldwell's contract is only guaranteed for next year. It was a multi-year extension, but in reality, it's really just a 1-year extension with team options beyond that. So if the Lions decide to fire Caldwell this year, they're only paying next year. So they're not having to – this is more of an issue, I think, for college teams and NFL. But I think that what we'll see here is that the buyout is still kind of a bit of a factor for NFL teams. They don't want to just extend a guy and then fire them. That's why you're not going to see Jack Del Rio and our coaching hot seat coming up here in just a little bit. But Caldwell extension, it isn't really a true extension. It's a 1-year extension with team options. So if the Lions struggle down the stretch here, you can see Caldwell getting pulled and Bob Quinn getting out his own guy.
I got to say this, though. We saw this happen with the Buccaneers like 2 years ago when they had Lovie Smith. The players really liked him, but they had an offensive coordinator who they didn't want to lose. Tom, could we see Jim Caldwell get cucked by his own offensive coordinator, Jim Bob Cooter?
I think that the Detroit Lions right now are in a very similar shape to the Cincinnati Bengals from several years ago.
That's a good one.
Where they've got two great coordinators in Jim Bob Cooter and Terrell Austin, and a head coach that, probably isn't actually all that good.
Yeah.
So the Lions learn from other teams' mistakes. Get rid of Jim Caldwell, especially if you miss the playoffs. Promote one of those guys.
I got to say,
get your Zimmer or your Jay Gruden.
People talk about Jeff Fisher being the ultimate 500 NFL head coach. I'm telling you, if you're an NFL franchise and you want to go 500, just hire Jim Caldwell. Hey, some NFL teams want to go 500. They make a lot of money when they go 500. Jim Caldwell's definitely that guy. But we're going to move on here to our final coaching rumor. Tom, can I make the joke?
Yeah, go for it.
He's Chuck Pagano, baby. Chuck Pagano is gone. We have him with 4 footballs. Fact news, the most factual news that you will find. So much so that Trump might tweet about this one.
Look, there's no chance that Pagano comes back.
No chance.
He's got the Ravens and Texans, so maybe they end up winning one more game. We know that Jim Irsay has flirted with other jobs. There's a new GM. I think more importantly, Chuck Pagano himself said that everyone's coaching on a one-day contract.
I have a question for you, though.
He knows he's gone.
I don't think
he's gone.
I don't think we've talked about. We've talked a lot about who might get the Giants job and a couple of the places. Who are a couple candidates for the Colts?
I will go look at Chiefs coordinators and
Okay.
Dave Taub and their offensive coordinator as well, because there's Chris Ballard, who came over from the Chiefs.
Okay.
There's the familiarity there. And frankly, I think the Colts job is going to be one of the more coveted ones out there.
Look,
and if Andrew Luck is healthy.
I got to say, you try to find me any NFL franchise that has 2 starting caliber quarterbacks. And, Jacoby Brissett, starting caliber here and there, but at least he can play. The kid can play, and not all the teams, and also they have a pretty solid defensive line as well. That Colts job is going to be a pretty sought after one, but Chuck Pagano is most certainly gone. So we'll move on away from our coaching rumors. That's a fun segment. We'll bring that back a couple of times. We were all going to use Goodell faces, but,
we're going to tweak this, I think, a little bit as we go along.
We want it to be nice. Remember, guys, if you want to check out where the rumor meter originally came from, go check out the Michigan Football Podcast hosted by the Michigan Football Insider, James Yoder. That is Tom Downey, and I am Harris Rubenstein. Happy with you on this edition of NFL Daily. Just got done with our coaching rumors, but it's time to move away from coaching rumors and into our coaching hot seat. We're going to go 5 through 1. Who are the coaches most likely to get fired? And Tom, I love who we have at number 5. I could not agree more. At number 5, we have the head coach for the Titans, Mike Mularkey.
I considered many different guys at number 5. I thought about Jack Del Rio, but I think his extension kind of solidifies his job. Mark Davis isn't rolling in the money. I think he'll give Del Rio another year. I considered a Jim Caldwell. I considered Vance Joseph or Hugh Jackson, both of whom, as we just discussed, kind of seem like they're in good shape right now. But Mike Mularkey, I know a lot of Titans fans, they are not happy with Mularkey, and it's tough to blame them. He is not making the best use of his offense. The play calling, the scheming has not been good. I think the Titans are in real danger of totally collapsing. And at that point, the Titans should make a change at head coach. Go out and get someone who can make the most of the offense. Mike Mularkey was a weird hire to me in the first place. I kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt because the Titans have won games. But their win-loss record, I think, is a bit deceptive.
Could they fire him and finally give Dick LeBeau a head coaching job at the age of 85 million years old?
Dick LeBeau is not a head coach. We've tried that. Dick LeBeau is a great defensive coordinator. He's not a head coach. OC Terry Robisky also got to go.
Former NFL wide receiver Terry Robisky, right? I do believe. I remember his name.
OC of the Browns didn't go well. Surprise! It's not going well with the Titans.
Yeah, what a big surprise there. All right, number 4. Speaking of coaches who just haven't done a good job on offense, is Dirk Cutter.
Dirk Cutter and Mike Mularkey are the same.
Really?
They are the same to me in the sense that both have had coaching experience. Mularkey in the NFL, Dirk Cutter was at Arizona State, didn't do a great job. Both of them were promotions from within when I think both of those teams were positioned to go out and get a bigger name because they were a very desired job. There's talent on both of these teams, and both these head coaches have not made the most of their players around them. We like to think that coaching doesn't matter a ton, that it can be easily overlooked. Coaching is the reason the Bucs and the Titans have struggled. I think it's the same reason the Raiders have struggled.
I got to say, though, I will never understand why they fired Lovie Smith. one of the best player coaches in the NFL. The team actually had a good season. They were 8-8 that year.
Because the Bucs were worried Dirk Cutter was going to get hired by somebody else, kind of the same way that the Giants promoted their guy.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I agree, Harris. I thought it was a bad idea.
I'll put it this way. You only fire head coaches, and this is why I don't think the Browns should fire Hugh Jackson. You should only fire head coaches if you know the person you're bringing in is just better. They didn't know that Dirk Cutter was going to be better than Lovie Smith. They hoped.
I'll also add one amendment on that, is that in the event that the coach has lost the team.
That's fair.
That's when you no matter what, at that point you got to make a change.
I'll give you that one.
The Giants.
Hey, I think any head coaching option would be better than McAfee. That falls under both classifications. All right, let's move into number 3 here. John Fox, head coach of the Bears. Long time coming. I wonder, will John Fox retire after this? Is this the last stop for him?
Maybe it is. John Fox has been in the NFL for a very, very long time. He's 62, so he could keep coaching if he wanted to. But look, the Bears went 6-10 his first year, 3-13 last year. I know it's a bit of a rebuilding phase, but I think my question here is John Fox and the current coaching staff the guy to get the most out of Mitchell Trubisky? And my answer is no.
I don't think so.
So go find somebody else. Go out and get a young offensive mind. I know everyone wants to find the next Sean McVay. Easier said than done.
Yep.
Go get a guy who can build this team. I know that the GM Ryan Pace handpicked Fox, but I think it's time to go in a different direction. Fox was a good bridge as the Bears kind of rebuilt.
Yep.
Now it's time to get a guy that can take them to the next step.
I know we kept talking about him with the Giants, but again, Josh McDaniels I think would be a great pick. Let him build and literally say, hey, we already have a good defense. Build your offense. We have a solid enough GM, and I think Ryan Pace is a good enough GM. People really hated on that Mitchell Trubisky pick. I get it. They kind of got wrecked by the 49ers because they weren't going to take him anyway. But they got their guy. And he's been pretty good. That defense has been able to rebuild very well over the past couple of years as well.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's move on to number 2. Marvin Lewis, the head coach of the Bears. Only at number 2.
He's got to go.
Only number 2. I understand we have the most convincing guy number 1, but man.
Gotta go. 2. Look, Marvin Lewis has so outstayed his welcome, it's getting ridiculous. If Marvin Lewis gets fired, Bengals fans will be very pleased. That's where we're at for the Cincinnati Bengals. It's Marvin Lewis over and over again. The team is in a rut. They got to make a change. Lewis has to go. And not only that, Harris, it needs to be somebody outside of the organization. The answer is not to promote Paul Gunther. The answer is not to promote special teams coach Darren Simmons, which I genuinely fear the Bengals will do because they love keeping things within the organization, and Mike Brown is super cheap. And by the way, I will not rule out Hugh Jackson getting the job here, by the way.
Really?
Because Hugh Jackson loves Cincinnati. The Bengals originally tried to convince Hugh to stay as coach in waiting for a year, let Marvin Lewis become the GM. Now, that's not going to work. I think that
Who would ever want Marvin Lewis as a GM?
Well, you say that. He's actually done a pretty solid job. He and Duke Tobin, outside the past 2 years, have done a good job. There's been some disagreement, but I think with the way Marvin Lewis handled everything this year, it has to be a totally reset on the button there. Get rid of Marvin Lewis. Get in somebody new. Bengals fans will be very happy when Marvin Lewis is fired. All
right, let's quickly go into number 1 here. Chuck Pagano. Talked about him a little bit. He gone. It is a matter of time.
Oh. Yeah. It's just a matter of time, and I don't like cheering for people to lose their jobs. So I don't want to.
He's a very nice man.
I don't want anyone to think that's what we're doing here, but it's just time for him to go.
I'll also put it this way: Chuck Pagano is 100% going to be fired as a head coach, get picked up as someone's defensive backs coach or someone's linebackers coach or defensive line coach or whatever, and be a defensive coordinator within a year or two.
He might not wait to be a DC.
I'll put it this way: the Colts' defense isn't as they should be even worse than they already are, which is saying something. All right, let's check out our full rankings here. Number 5, Vance Joseph. Number 4, Dirk Cutter. Number 3, John Fox. Number 2, Marvin Lewis. And number 1, Chuck Pagano. We do have a reaction poll for the people coming up. Which NFL head coach should be fired first? Give us a heart for Marvin Lewis, a wow face for John Fox, a laughing face for Chuck Pagano, and an angry face for someone else. I'm throwing up that laughing face, though.
I think that the first one who's going to be gone is going to be Chuck Pagano. I think it's almost a matter at this point, folks, who gets fired first on Black Monday.
Yep.
I think that's where we're at. It's not going to be a matter of which coach gets canned first or which coach gets fired before the season ends. I think they'll all last till after the season ends. But I think Black Monday this year is going to be incredible.
It's going to be a great Black Monday.
Now, it is. I'm pretty sure it's New Year's Day.
Oh, wow.
So maybe it becomes Black Tuesday. I don't know what NFL teams will do if they don't want to fire someone on New Year's Day, but it's going to be interesting. So keep it locked here on NFL by Chat Sports. We'll have up-to-the-minute stuff for you as coaches get fired and dismissed.
And dismissed as well. Maybe we'll have a little coaching, a little Black Monday show.
Of course we will.
Yeah,
That's what
Black
we're here
Monday
for.
show. Can't wait. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time. Drumroll. A little bit of drumroll, Tom. It is time for the NFL Daily Mock Draft with Tom Downey. Pumped to get into this one. So let's start. We're going to go 1 to 10. People go 10 to 1. No, we go in order here.
Mock draft,
we
go 1 to 10.
We
Doesn't
go
make
in
any
order
sense to do it
here.
any other way.
All right, let's start at number 1. They're taking the kid from Manhattan Beach, the Cleveland Browns. We'll select Josh Rosen, the quarterback from UCLA.
Rosen looks pretty good this year. I've been very impressed by the way he's played. It was a little iffy at times in the year with his arm strength. He had the surgery. It's come along nicely. I think the Browns are very high on him. I think Hugh Jackson loves it. So if Hugh Jackson's still there, I think Rosen's the guy at number 1. If the Browns end up picking at number 1, that means they won like what, 1 or 2, 0 to 1 games, somewhere in that range. At that point, I don't think you can stick to Sean Kaiser, even though I like Kaiser quite a bit. I think if that's what we end up seeing happening, and then Josh Rosen has to be, or a quarterback in general, has to be the first overall pick.
Definitely has to be for sure. But I do want to say this before we move on from Josh Rosen. A lot of people talk about his strengths, Tom. For the people at home, name me Josh Rosen's top weakness.
It's, I think the biggest concerns for NFL teams are going to be some of the off-the-field stuff. There's been some buzz that he's not beloved by his teammates, that people didn't go to his birthday party.
Okay, don't. But I will say this, we've had that rumor, but a lot of his teammates over the past couple weeks on Twitter have come out in his defense.
So, I think it might have been a case where Rosen's matured. Like, I think that's probably where we're at. The truth lies somewhere in the middle, that Rosen, look, when you're a high school kid, I mean, he was also the number 1 quarterback think of Jimmy Clausen.
in the country. Yeah.
Like your ego can get a little bit out of control, and I think that Rosen has matured. So the meetings, the interviews are going to be very important for him. From what I've been told, he's going to be fine.
Yeah. And the last thing before we move on, I will say this: college teams are massive. You could admit, what if a reporter has like 1 or 2 guys on a UCLA football team? That's probably what, 80 plus kids. And if a couple of them don't like him, that doesn't mean the entire team hates him.
And I'll throw this out there as well. NFL and every team is going to have some level of disagreement. You're not going to get along with 50 alpha males.
Yes,
like that just doesn't work. So there's always going to be some semblance of disagreement, and that's where it becomes on the individual players to move past whatever issues they have with teammates, and for the coaching staff to get their stuff together. So I'm not too concerned here with Josh Rosen. I'm a big fan of his. I'm a big fan of Josh Rosen as well. I'm also a big fan of the guy who we have at number 2 going to the New York Football Giants. It is time for Eli Manning to maybe take a seat on the retirement bench. Sam Darnold, number 2. I'll give you guys a hint. Davis Webb is not the future.
Okay, come on, man.
No,
not going to give him a chance?
Stop. No, I'm not going to give him a chance. I think Darnold, there's a good chance that Darnold ends up going home. Or not going home. He stays at USC, doesn't go pro, and elects to give himself another year of development.
He should.
Look, Darnold, he's got some, I don't know, maybe Jameis Winston is a decent comp in terms of the way he played this year, where there were too many turnovers. His release is a little loopy, but I think Darnold has the upside to be a franchise quarterback, and if that's the case, you're going to go early in the NFL draft.
For me with Sam Darnold,
he checks off most of the boxes NFL teams are looking for.
For me with Sam Darnold, it's just that he is so, I kind of, like a lot of athletes, and especially when it comes to basketball players, but keep this with football players, some of them just have so much talent in their body, but they just don't know what to do with it yet. So they revert back to going to their athleticism, trying to make plays with their body instead of with fundamentals. That's kind of what I think Sam Darnold's promise. I think he needs 1 more year of development. I will say this, though.
My question is, can you turn down number 2 overall pick, or at least top 5, let's put it that way, and a year of NFL development versus a year of college development?
But the thing is,
they're different.
But it is different. But at the same time, there are plus and minuses that, because sometimes quarterbacks will go back to college and develop a lot, or they'll go back to college like Matt Barkley did and regress seriously. I will say this for the people at home before we move on here, and this is more of a personal thing. I think you agree with this too. Ladies and gentlemen, if you read any mock draft that doesn't have Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold as the number 1, number 2 picks, close it instantly. Unless Sam Darnold announces that he's not coming out. Close it.
Unless they're projecting Darnold not going pro.
Yes, correct. If Sam Darnold doesn't end up going pro, or they think he won't, that's fine.
And
but
again, everything can change.
That's very true. We'll see what goes on the record, but please just read the mock drafts to have them going 1 and 2. I know Tom Downey's will certainly have him if Sam Darnold comes out. All right, let's move into number 3 here. The Indianapolis Colts taking, can we call him a generational guard prospect, and Quentin Nelson, the guard from Notre Dame?
I don't know if that's a thing.
Well, it was a thing, because remember, we did have two of them a couple years ago. Jonathan Cooper, one of them, and then Chance Warmack, and both of them sucked.
Yeah, so maybe that's argument why there isn't one.
Yeah, there you go.
The Colts are an interesting spot here because they can go a bunch of different directions. They can go offensive line. I think they can go Saquon Barkley. They could definitely go edge rusher with a guy like Bradley Chubb. But when it comes to Quentin Nelson, I don't think the Colts are in terrible shape at edge rusher. They can get by with their current guys. They can get someone later.
Jamal Shear's been solid this year.
Quentin Nelson can come in day one and be a plug-and-play borderline all-pro offensive guard in the mode of a Zach Martin or a Brandon Schreff. So I love the fit. It's definitely early for a guard, but think of it this way. The Colts are drafting the best offensive lineman. Isn't the best offensive lineman worth a top 5 pick in most drafts?
Oh, well, I totally agree.
So it's not a sexy pick. It's not the edge rusher. I like Nelson here. I think Colts and the Broncos, if they end up picking high, a couple of teams, are great fits for Quentin Nelson.
Argument to be made also maybe for Minkah Fitzpatrick, pairing him with Quincy Nelson, the rookie who's had a decent past couple games, along with Malik Hooker coming off that free safety.
Interesting.
Or that ACL position after free safety.
I don't know if Fitzpatrick is going to play free safety or corner.
Okay.
And I think that if it's corner, I think that makes sense. I think the Colts, though, the value's there for Fitzpatrick, but I think they can fill a bigger need and still get good value.
Okay.
And wait on Fitzpatrick and get a corner later on. It's a decent cornerback class.
All right, cool. Let's move to number 4. We got the San Francisco 49ers. Oh, man, what an offense this is going to be if they get Saquon Barkley, who Tom Downey is mocking them to. Look, you know, there are concerns, I think, from many NFL front offices. One, about taking a running back, you know, at this level. But Ezekiel Elliott did help that. But
I am personally not a big fan of it.
Is him running between the tackles a concern in the NFL? He didn't have fantastic success this year. He's amazing in open field. We know that, but running between the tackles, he did struggle this year.
That's actually, I think, my biggest pet peeve with Barkley is that he had a tendency to bounce things out wide too much and play out of structure.
He always tries to hit the home run.
Which is fine. Like I don't mind it, my halfback doing that when he can do it. I actually don't know if the Niners would take Barkley because Shanahan tends to prefer not first-round draft picks from what we've seen in years past. And I actually almost have this as a trade down. Like, yeah, I thought we were getting too complicated. I think there's a team who ended up getting the guy that they wanted anyway in this mock draft. I think that the Niners are a prime trade-down candidate, accumulate more draft assets.
I would love to see them trade down to like number 10 or number 11 and take Calvin Ridley. I think that'd be a great fit. They need someone on the outside that can make moves.
I think that's kind of early for any receiver. The receivers are not good this year, and we'll talk more about that with a future pick as well.
Very true. All right, let's move into number 5 here, the Cleveland Browns. I love this pick. I think this might be maybe the best pick that we've mocked so far. Minkah Fitzpatrick, the DB from Alabama. One of the most versatile defensive backs that we've seen come out of college. Imagine if Jabril Peppers was actually good, and that's what Minkah Fitzpatrick is. This dude is special. You can put him anywhere in the secondary. I think he's a perfect fit. They need someone like him in that secondary.
In the end, I think Fitzpatrick plays free safety or he plays cornerback, and either one fills a need.
I think he plays both.
He could be kind of like the move around guy. I think in the end for Fitzpatrick, he fits the Browns' needs in both spots. He can be a free safety. They can get Jabril Peppers out of that free safety spot. He is not a free safety. He is a strong safety. He's playing out positions and he struggled. Or he can go be a big, long, lanky corner, which I think more NFL teams are coveting. I think Fitzpatrick in Cleveland is a great fit. This pick, you see the asterisk coming from the Houston Texans. I think for a good portion of the year, I'm going to keep mocking Fitzpatrick and the Browns. I think they're a fantastic match.
I think they'll match up really well. You know, you look at the AFC North, you look around, they got to cover Antonio Brown, Martavis Bryant, A.J. Green. Maybe when they actually let John Ross out of jail, the Bengals jail, that they'll actually let him play. I think Minkah Fitzpatrick would be a great pick. Let's summarize 1 through 5. We got the Browns taking Rosen and then Fitzpatrick at 1 and 5. Then in the middle, we got Darnold, Quentin Nelson, and Saquon Barkley sandwiched in the middle of the 2 Browns pick. By the way, they did, as you mentioned, they get that number 5 pick because they had the Houston Texans pick from not taking Deshaun Watson last year, which was stupid.
John Dorsey may have inaccurately said that Sashi Brown left him with no real players. He has left him with a cornucopia of draft picks.
Yes, he has.
An incredible group.
I guarantee you he wishes that he left him with Deshaun Watson instead of the number 5 pick. But hey, that's just me. That's just me. We'll see. All right, let's move into number 6 here, Tom. Another great pick with the Chicago Bears taking Connor Williams, the offensive tackle from Texas. Now, I want to bring this up to you, Tom. It's been a couple years now since we've had a true elite tackle prospect. Is Connor Williams that guy?
Had he been healthy all year and showed what we saw in his sophomore tape, yeah, I think he would have been. I think that Williams was banged up this year. He was in a new scheme. He never quite got into a groove. He still has shown the flashes of being a dynamic left tackle in terms of offensive lineman. I think he's a heck of a prospect. I like what I see in Oklahoma. He's my top tackle this year. I don't know if NFL teams are going to feel the same way. I think the Bears are actually in a pretty good spot in terms of rebuilding. The addition of Williams, you don't often get a chance to draft a true left tackle. If you're a team like the Bears, Charles Leno's played very well. I think he'd be better at right tackle, plug Connor in at left tackle. That's a really good 1-2 punch there.
And it's also a great combo because not only do they get, because he's great in the pass coverage, but he's also great in the run game. So they get a guy who can cover Trubisky's blind side, and they also give someone another good road grader on the left side for Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard, which they're trying to build the offense around.
Yeah, and I think that the Bears' biggest need by far is receiver.
Yes, for sure.
I do not believe there are any worth taking the top 10.
And
it's Courtland Sutton, Calvin Ridley. They're not.
I think this is a good wide receiver class late. For instance, Anthony Miller, the wide receiver from Memphis, might be the best wide receiver in this class. You might be able to get him in the 3rd round, maybe.
There are a lot of nice number 2s, low-end 1s, and slot guys. Not a guy you spend a top 10 draft pick on. If I'm the Bears, my offseason number 1 wish list is so easy. I am going out and I am throwing money at Jarvis Landry.
Yeah,
he is perfect for Mitchell Trubisky. Trubisky isn't going to be a guy that chucks it downfield 20 yards beyond the line of scrimmage 40 times a game. That's not who he is. He is a shorter passer guy. You put him with Jarvis Landry, he's going to thrive.
Agreed. All right, let's move into number 7 here. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking Bradley Chubb, the DM from NC State. There might not be a team outside of the Browns with more obvious needed quarterback than the Buccaneers have at defensive end. You have them taking the top guy in this draft.
They got to get more edge rushers. Noah Spence has not become the guy they thought he could be. He's been banged up, and really, they just don't have enough pass rushers in general. Chubb, this I think is a little low for him overall. I think he ends up going higher, maybe because the Bucs end up losing more games, but I think the Colts, maybe even a team like the Bears or the Niners could still consider him. He's the best edge rusher in this year's class. He's not Myles Garrett, but Chubb's a heck of a player.
Could you see them maybe reach for Derwin James, get a safety? Boy, do they need one.
Maybe. I don't know what we're going to see with Derwin James. I think there might be a little bit of Jabril Peppers in his game right now where he hasn't been as good as he was in his true freshman year. I like Derwin James a lot. He's also not a free safety, and I think we'll see him slide a little bit as a more of an in-the-box guy. I don't know if he'd be the best fit, but I mean, it's definitely an option.
Okay.
It's definitely an option. I think it's a guy the Bucs will consider.
All right, let's move into number 8 here, the Denver Broncos. You have to take Roquan Smith, the linebacker from Georgia. Tom, maybe this year that people will actually take the best linebacker in the class from SEC, and I think they will because everyone completely swung and missed on Reuben Foster, who's been one of the best linebackers in football this year. Roquan Smith has that kind of potential.
I don't think this is the
special
This
player.
is not the Broncos' biggest need, but it could be if they lose Todd Davis in free agency, because if he walks, then they've got Brandon Marshall, who's had a bit of a down year, and they're a little thin at that spot. Smith gives them an instant impact at inside linebacker.
I also think if you look at the talent that they have all around the rest of the team, corner's solid, the defensive line is great, the offensive line is good enough. They obviously have a great 1-2 punch of wide receiver. I believe Emmanuel Sanders is a free agent at the end of the year, or does he have one more year on his contract?
At least one more year.
Yeah, at least one more year in his contract. So all they really need is quarterback. At that point, you might just take the best player available. I think Roquan Smith qualifies as that.
They're going to look offensive line. We had them in Quentin Nelson in last week's mock when they were higher ranked. Again, this is up to today, so they have the 5-9 record, so they're below all the 4-9 teams here. I think with Denver, quarterback's going to be an option too, but I wouldn't be surprised if they chased the bigger name in free agency.
Bigger name free agency. Like it. All right, let's move into number 9, the Cincinnati Bengals. Tom, will they finally take a tackle? Will they finally take a tackle?
Well, it's not taking a tackle.
Orlando Brown.
They got to take a good tackle because they took Jake Fisher in the second round a couple years ago. He has been banged up. I don't know what his future holds. They took Cedric Abuya. He has been a bust. They need 2 new offensive tackles. So go out and add Orlando Brown. He is a mountain of a man. He's, I think, maybe a more athletic Andre Smith. Maybe that's who he could end up being. I haven't finished my comp or my
I just like watching him move in the run game.
Huge.
Look, I understand that Oklahoma is a great offense, but you're not going to convince me that Rodney Anderson is some special talent. They ran behind Orlando Brown so much this year. He was incredible.
The biggest thing for Brown is proving that he is going to be able to move in the NFL because he's got the size, but is he too big? Is he too slow? I think Eric Flowers could be another player comp for him.
Oh, no.
He's been better this year.
He has.
Flowers has maybe turned a corner.
I also think one of the big issues with Eric Flowers, dude, the guy came into the NFL at like 20 years old. Just give him a little bit of time. All right. Tom, I thank you so much for this. This makes me so happy despite the fact that he's going to the Jets. At number 10, ladies and gentlemen, it's Baker Mayfield. Tom, I would kiss you, but that'd be kind of weird.
Yeah, it would be a little weird there. Look, I think that Baker Mayfield's going to go in round 1. I hope he might be quarterback 1 for me when it's all said and done. Outside of the size, I mean, what's the knock on Baker Mayfield? He is prolific at Oklahoma. Maybe he needs some more work under center. When has that been an issue as of late for NFL teams? I think Baker is going to have a bright success in the NFL. I know he doesn't have the size. The hand size could be a concern for me going forward, but he's a playmaker. He is great out of the system, but also within the system. He makes plays within the Oklahoma system. I think he's going to have a bright NFL future. I think the size concerns will knock him down, though, in the NFL
Can I
draft.
ask you a difficult on-the-spot question?
Sure. I'll try and answer it.
Who is Baker Mayfield's NFL comp that isn't Russell Wilson?
It's Drew Brees.
Interesting.
And I'm talking about college Drew Brees.
Okay.
I'm not talking about current NFL Drew Brees. Go back and look at even just Drew Brees highlights from Purdue. He ran a lot. Like, he didn't really run a ton in the NFL, especially in the last, decade or so. He wasn't the same quarterback, but he ran quite a bit at Purdue. You got the same size issues there. I think Baker Mayfield's got the arm strength. I think he definitely has the accuracy. I wasn't as bullish on Mayfield because I was a little concerned like, oh, he was a product of having 3 high NFL draft picks. This year, Baker Mayfield took a lot of guys that no one had ever heard of and made them look great.
Marquise Brown, he turned maybe into a second-round pick.
Baker Mayfield elevated the level of play from those around him, and that's what I want to see in my quarterback. And I think Baker Mayfield, out of anyone in this year's class, did that the best.
All right, let's go into a little summary here. Number 1 and number 5, we got the Browns taking Rosen and Fitzpatrick and peanut butter jelly sandwiched in between those guys. You got Sam Darnold to the Giants, Quentin Nelson to the Colts, Saquon Barkley to the 49ers, and 6 through 10 we got Connor Williams, Bradley Chubb, Roquan Smith, Orlando Brown, and then Baker Mayfield, the crotch grab king himself, going to the New York Jets. Let's bring in a little reaction poll here for the people at home. Give us a heart for Sam Darnold. Give us a wow face for Josh Rosen, a laughing face for Baker Mayfield, and a thumbs up for someone else. Who is the best quarterback in this year's draft? Tom, I'm still going to give it to Sam Darnold.
I have not solidified any of my film watching. I still got quite a few games to go through for each of these guys, but early on, I am actually leaning toward Rosen or Mayfield. I do want to see what Mayfield, how he actually measures it in terms of height and hand size. If he's got small hands, he's going to fumble more. You can just ask Aaron Rodgers that actually is a thing. But I like what I've seen out of Baker Mayfield. I like what I've seen out of Rosen. I think all 3 of those guys are going to be pretty highly ranked on my quarterback board.
Do you know what you don't need to watch film to do?
What?
Know how awesome a man crate is. The perfect holiday gift for any man. Go to mancrates.com for a big old box of testosterone, jerky grams, NFL barware. You can get beautiful pint glasses on it with your NFL team on it. Tom, the quality of these boxes are fantastic. The crowbar might be the coolest part. And also, if you're ever feeling a little bit tough, just buy one of their gift cards that is locked in concrete that you can smash with a hammer.
That's awesome.
It's so cool. I love it.
That's manliness in a box.
Manliness in a box. Head to mancrates.com. Perfect holiday gift. There's still time, though you do have to order either today or tomorrow to get it by Christmas. So go, mancrates.com for the perfect holiday gift. All right, Tom, we have a super fun weekend, not Sunday, weekend of NFL football.
Yes.
We get Saturday football
Yes,
back.
we do.
And speaking of Saturday football, we start with the Bears taking on the Lions. The Lions fighting for their playoff lives, but good for them, Tom, because they're playing a under 500 team at home, which means that they might actually win this game.
Yeah, look, I like the Lions in this one at home. I think the spread is maybe a little on the small side. The Lions' offense has been fine. They got to cut down on the turnovers. I like Detroit in this matchup. Chicago's put up a good effort as of late, but they're heading the wrong direction. The Lions, meanwhile, fighting for their playoff lives. I think the Lions' schedule sets up very well for them to be a dark horse playoff team, Harris. I know you're not a fan of them, but this is good here.
I'll put it this way. Vegas knows all, and Vegas only has the Lions beating a bad Bears team by 5 points at home, which means that in neutral field, they're only by 3, and in Chicago, they're actually favored to lose by 1. But hey, semantics this, who you got?
Lions, Bears. Lions over the Bears, excuse me.
You can't have both.
Missed the word there, kind of important.
I'm going to take the Lions as well, just because, again, they're playing a sub-500 team at home. If this was a above 500 team at home, they would probably lose, just like they always do. All right, let's move into the game of Saturday. No college football, so everyone's going to be watching this one. It's the battle maybe for the whole AFC West. Tom, Chargers and the Chiefs. Chargers maybe the hottest team in football right now.
This is a pick'em game, and the Chargers are on the road That means if this game was home in LA, you'd be looking at like a 6 point, or excuse me, a several point advantage in favor of the Chargers. That's unusual. 6 points there, because the average is about 3 going on the road.
I don't think it's that unusual. Here's what it comes down to: the Chiefs have lost. If my memory serves me correctly, they have lost 5 of their last 7 games, whereas the Chargers have won 5 of their last 7 games. 2 teams going in completely different different directions, but we'll say this: Chiefs have been playing better as of late when Andy Reid has given up the play calling duties.
Yeah, I am still going to stick with the Chiefs in this one. I think they kind of find a way to get back on track. They got some confidence coming out after last week's. This is still a quality Chiefs team. I'm not quite ready to buy the Chargers right now, so I will take Kansas City. Either way, it is a very close game.
I will buy all of the Chargers stock because
you're right back on their bandwagon.
As of right now, I'm pretty sure the second best wide receiver in football might just be Keenan Allen.
I think that's a little bit disrespectful to guys like A.J. Green and Julio Jones and DeAndre
Not
Hopkins,
this year.
but I understand.
Or maybe DeAndre Hopkins.
I love
me
me some Keenan Allen. I'm not ready to call him the number 2 or maybe,
no, I'm not
maybe
saying
the top 5.
Just this year. Just this year.
I don't know if I'm there yet.
Fair enough. All right, let's move away here into a little NFC East matchup. The Eagles' first game without Carson Wentz. In comes Nick Foles. The Giants just doing really anything, I guess, to lose as many games as they can to try to get that high draft pick.
They tried last week.
I'll put it this way. The last time the Eagles and Giants played, it was a tough game, and now no Carson Wentz. Tom, what do you think the Eagles' record will be over the next 3 games without Carson Wentz?
They're going to win 2 and lose 1.
Okay.
And I took a lot of heat from Eagles fans on yesterday's NFL Daily by saying that the loss of Carson Wentz really hurt their Super Bowl chances, which apparently is a controversial hot take statement there, apparently.
Hot take alert.
With that said, they're going to destroy the Giants this week. I mean, this is not going to be close. I know they don't have Carson Wentz. Going from Carson Wentz to Nick Foles is the difference between, going from number 1 to number 5 or 4 in our power rankings. They're still going to beat a bottom 5 team in the New York Giants. It shouldn't be that close. If Nick Foles does have issues, I'm going to be really concerned, though.
The Eagles will win, but the Giants will cover. A 7.5-point line in New York. The Giants' defense has been playing way better of late. I'm going to take the Eagles, but the Giants, I think, are going to move it on. All right, let's move into the Bengals and the Vikings. Mike Zimmer taking on his old team. Fun times in Minnesota. Not great last week for them in Carolina. They lost to the Carolina Panthers, but do have a chance to rebound this week. They're favored by 10.5 points at home. Might be an easy win for them.
This should be an easy win for Minnesota. Now, Kyle Rudolph has gone through a bit of interesting changes in the past couple hours, really. At one point, he was declared out of this game. Then all of a sudden, they said, actually, you know what? He's doubtful. So we'll see if he ends up playing. My guess is no. Either way, Minnesota should rout the Bengals. It's a home game. Mike Zimmer against his old team. This should be an easy win for the for the Vikings, excuse me.
Who do you got?
Vikings. Easy win for Minnesota.
Agreed. Vikings, easy win as well. All right, let's move on here. The Texans at the Jaguars. A little switcheroo action on the record. 4-9 for the Texans, 9-4 for the Jaguars in an AFC South matchup that could be pretty fun. The Jaguars with a big chance of taking an even bigger lead over the Titans. I'm trying to have fun, but I'll put it this way. The Jaguars should win this game.
The Texans have TJ Yates at quarterback, so that's good when they're playing the Bengals, but they're playing the Jaguars. That's the issue here. I think Jacksonville stifles the Texans' offensive attack. TJ Yates has a bit of a rough game. Jacksonville should win handily. It's an 11-point spread for the reason. Give me the Jags.
Hey, just watch out for the Yates of hell. I will take the Jacksonville Jaguars as well.
There you go.
All right, let's move into our next one. Probably the
least impactful.
The who really cares about this game of the week. Cardinals taking on the Redskins. We don't really need to spend too much time on this one. Tom,
the Cardinals are still technically alive in the playoff race. They just need a damn miracle to get in. So we almost skipped this one because this does not have any impact for the NFL playoff picture. Either way, the Redskins at home by 4. I'll trust Vegas here. I got Washington with a very, very banged-up Cardinals team.
I'm going to take the Washington Redskins as well. All right, let's move on here. The Jets taking on the Saints. Tom, I will say this. Alvin Kamara will play in this game after suffering a head injury, or now an ankle injury. He's suffered a bunch of different things over the past couple weeks. Saints-Jets in New Orleans.
You know who's not playing in this game?
Who?
Muhammad Wilkerson.
Please explain that story for the people at home.
Because Muhammad Wilkerson pulled an Albert Haynesworth. He got paid, and he stopped trying, and he's been showing up late to meetings, and Todd Bowles said, you know what, I'm done. You're suspended. Frankly, I would not be surprised if we've seen the last of Mo Wilkerson in a Jets uniform.
Even
though we just signed that contract extension, the way it's set up, the Jets can get out of it.
You say contract, you say in a Jets jersey, I don't know.
He'll get another shot.
I know he will, but I don't know why.
Look, the Jets are starting Bryce Petty. This is going to be a rout. 15.5 points is an insanely high spread. Pick up the Saints defense in fantasy if you're still out in the postseason. They're going to rout the Jets. The Jets had 100 yards of offense last week. We could legitimately be in for more this time. I think they do better because there's nowhere to go but up. But they're going to have a rough go.
I'm guessing you got the Saints?
Absolutely. I'm not an idiot.
I'm taking the Saints. I will take them as well. All right, we got an AFC East matchup. The Dolphins coming off a huge win over the Patriots on Monday Night Football. The Bills coming off the win. The Blizzard Bowl, as it's now being called. Tom, if the Bills lose, Patriots clinch the AFC East for the millionth time in the past million years. But I'll put it this way. Watch out for the Dolphins.
I'm going to go. Look, I'm going to go with the Bills in this one. The Dolphins, though, are playing with some real confidence. I think that's very impressive. The Dolphins might be an upset pick against the spread for me. I will lean Buffalo because Tyrod Taylor's back, and I really trust LaShawn McCoy. But I think this game is going to be one of the games that no one really cares about outside of these two fan bases because there's not a bunch of playoff implications, but ends up being a close game and a good one.
I'm going to take the Dolphins in this one. They just have they always do this weird random win streak against the AFC East. I feel like every year they just win a couple of games at the end just to worsen their draft stock. All right, one of the best games we have this weekend, the Packers taking on the Panthers. Ladies and gentlemen, he is back. Beware the warpath of Aaron Rodgers.
Look, I get it.
Dun, dun, dun.
I get it. It's Aaron Rodgers. He is incredible. And it's Aaron Rodgers. Even though he's not 100%, he's still better than Brett Hundley, and the Packers have found ways to win games. The Panthers are playing really well, though, right now. I mean, they just beat a really good Vikings team. And at home against the Packers, one hit lands on his collarbone, I think Rodgers is hurt again. Like, he is maybe 80%. So I understand the hype around Aaron Rodgers. I will forever think he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL. He is an incredible player. He carries that team. But Carolina is a damn good football team right now. I'm going with Carolina. I get the hype around Green Bay. Give me the Panthers.
Give me the Panthers. You know what, Tom?
Yeah?
Give me the Packers.
All right.
Beware of Aaron Rodgers. I am afraid of what he's going to do now that he's back. I think the Packers might actually make the playoffs. Again, here we go. All right, let's move into the next game. Ravens at the Browns. Tom, will the Browns get a win?
No, probably not.
Yes, they will.
Really?
Yes.
You're picking Cleveland.
Yes.
Harris, I'm proud of you, my friend.
Let's go. Come on.
I'm proud of you.
This is the time. They got so close last week. The Ravens are going to walk into Cleveland, expect to win. No. I think the Browns are going to put their foot down because guess what? John Dorsey called out his team today, saying that Saquon Brown filled his football team with a bunch of not real football players. If you're a young player on this Browns team, you want to show your new GM, hey, I am a real football player. I deserve to be on this football team. It is time to see who actually wants to play some football. Let's go, Browns. It's time. Show up, put up or shut up.
It happens next week.
Oh.
Next week they win. This is not the week. I think the Ravens are playing for their playoff lives. They got to keep winning games. This will be closer. I think this is a one score or less game, but I think Baltimore ekes out a win. They should have beat the Steelers last week. They find a way to win this time. Next week the Browns come back and they beat the Chicago Bears.
Give me the Browns, ladies and gentlemen. Throw up that wow face. Brownies going to get that first win of the year. I'm very excited. Good for the Browns.
We'll see. Let's not give them the win already, Harris.
Fine. All right.
That's why they play the games.
The game of the week in the NFC. We have the game of the week in the AFC coming up after this. But now we have the Rams and the Seahawks, the battle for the NFC West. The Seahawks won the first matchup in Los Angeles. We now head to Seattle. Tom, this is kind of a tricky game because Russell Wilson's playing out of his mind, but the defense has taken a little bit of a step back the past couple weeks. But the Rams coming off of a great win, or a loss, last week against the Eagles. I know you can't have a lot of great losses, but man, they showed up against the Eagles, against the #1 team in the NFL. They showed up and they played really well.
They did, and I'm still going to go with Seattle. I think that at home we know that Seattle is a different football team. They've already beaten the Rams once this year. They know how to stop that offense, even with some injuries on the defensive side of the ball. I like Seattle. They get this game. They take the first place spot in the NFC West. That battle is going to go down to the wire. I like Seattle in this one. It's going to be a close game. I think this is going to be a fantastic football game to watch. I think it's pretty close to must-watch football.
Speaking of must-watch football, Tom, the game of the week to decide the top seed in the AFC, it's the Patriots taking on the Steelers. We are in Pittsburgh this time around. But don't look now, ladies and gentlemen. The New England Patriots have won 8 of the last 10 meetings against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tom Brady against Mike Tomlin defenses in his career, Tom, 21 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. 0.
Harris,
Crazy.
I'm going to pick the Patriots to win.
Wow.
They seem to own the Steelers. I've been saying that for several days.
That's fair.
That shouldn't surprise you. I am almost hoping that the Steelers win because I don't know what I hate more. Overly cocky Harris as a Patriots fan or mopey Harris when the Patriots lose a game?
Consider me, as of right now, cautiously optimistic Harris, because if there's anything that, do you know what this Patriots team need? A little bit of a random midseason loss to kind of kick things back into motion. They're getting a lot of healthy pieces back this week. And just, ladies and gentlemen, just go look at the history of Tom Brady against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And by the way, for all the people that put the Pittsburgh Steelers at #1 in their power rankings, if the Pittsburgh Steelers really were in the #1 team in the power rankings, why are the New England Patriots favored by 3 in their house?
Because I base this on resumes.
Oh, the resumes.
Yes.
No.
That's a very
Fake
fair
news.
and accurate answer. Accurate answer.
Fake news. Pats take this one. Let's go to Hearts. All right, the Titans versus the 49ers. Tommy, don't need to spend too much time on this one.
You know
Titans
what?
are going to win. Actually, no.
No, you're wrong.
49ers are gonna win.
There you go. The 49ers are going to win. This, folks, is your curious line of the week. The 8-5 Titans on the road against the 3-10 49ers, and the Niners are favored by 1.5 points. Give me San Francisco. The Titans, I think, are going to continue to reel. I'm concerned about this franchise's direction under Mike Mularkey. Give me the furious Niners right now with 2 straight wins.
Hey, the captain of the Jimmy G top 10 quarterback bandwagon over here also going to be taking the 49ers. Hype train.
Call it a hype train.
Fine, fair enough. All right, maybe the most watched game of the week. Cowboys and the Raiders, 2 of the biggest fan bases in the NFL. Both of them, I think with a loss, are officially out of the playoffs.
I think there's still a scenario where the Cowboys can get in, but it's highly improbable. So it's a de facto elimination game. With this game in particular, I am excited to see how these teams come out. The Raiders have started slowly as of late. The Cowboys have issues as well. No Amari Cooper in this one for Oakland. He has been ruled out, as has defensive end Mario Edwards. This was supposed to be a Super Bowl potential preview. Now it's a play-in game. I got Dallas at home.
Got Dallas at home.
Or Dallas on the road, excuse me.
I'm going to take the Raiders. I think that they're fighting for their lives right now. I think this is going to be the week that Derek Carr actually puts up the game that they've been waiting for him to put up.
It's not his fault. It's the coaching staff. They have not put him in a good position.
Got to be a little bit of both if you're getting paid $125 million and you're 6 and 7. All right, let's move into our last game, the Falcons at the Bucs, Monday Night Football.
Yeah, you know,
Snooze fest, Falcons, please.
Falcons need this, though. They have to find a way to win this game in the loaded NFC. 9 wins, I do not think will cut it. The Falcons have a tough schedule down the stretch. This is a must-win game for them. If they win this one, they're going to take a step forward into making the playoffs, but then they got to find a way to win at least one more of the last 2 games. I like Atlanta in this one. I just don't trust the Bucs offense that keeps turning the ball over right now. So I got Atlanta in this one. I don't think it's going to be all that close.
I got Atlanta in this one as well. You know they're looking behind them and they're saying, oh, crap, here comes Aaron Rodgers. We need to win as many games as we possibly can. You are weirdly doubting Aaron Rodgers.
I am doubting their schedule. That's what I'm doing.
It doesn't matter.
They have to win out. They got the Vikings and Panthers. You know, maybe that's a hot take that they're not going to win all those games.
I think the team that always has the best quarterback should always be the team favored going into any game. I want to say that unless you're playing the Vikings, but that's another conversation for another day. That's going to do it for us. A reminder that this episode is brought to you by Man Crates. Head to mancrates.com for the perfect gift for any man. You can get him a beer crate. You can get him a jerky gram, maybe a little bouquet of meats as well. They have all an array of options. Even if you want to get some old-time video games. I love that one.
Yeah, that's a good one, too.
It's going for both of us.
NFL barware as well for all you NFL fans out there.
They should make a Star Wars.
I don't know if they can get the rights to that.
That's fair. Hey, but Disney just buy Fox. So, hey, what are you going to do?
I'm seeing it tomorrow. Can't wait.
No
spoilers or I will literally murder you on air.
I haven't seen it yet. But ladies and gentlemen, enjoy Star Wars this weekend. Enjoy a great weekend of NFL football. We'll be back with you at 6:45 p.m. on Sunday for NFL Recap to get you all of the games and all the highlights and analysis you could ever want and need. But for Tom Downey, I'm Harris Rubenstein. See ya.